Attention duelists, I'm rock hard. Cause finally we're done with Arc 5 and hopefully can move on to greener pastures. And hey, that might be the case today, because we're going back to when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was good, to the original Duel Monsters anime, kinda sorta. If you remember, Arc 5 aired during the 20th anniversary of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise as a whole, and featured a few characters from past series. Notable exclusion though were characters from the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is weird to not include the original characters of the franchise you're celebrating, but whatever. I assume that was the reaction of most Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans when watching the series, other than throwing up, but it made sense when they finally announced a brand new movie taking place in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Timeline, The Dark Side of Dimensions. A sequel movie that takes place 6 months after the original ending. And it features all your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters, except all these ones, but who cares about them? Now, like I said, I wasn't following Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically at this time, but being on the internet through general osmosis, I did find out about this movie, and I had the same thought I did right before I watched it today. Why? Why do we need more OG Yu-Gi-Oh! It ended great. There was no need for a sequel. It's fine, but I guess better a sequel than anything, because we've seen what they do when they put stories between arcs.
Hinotama Soul! Attack!
But that was done by an incompetent dubbing company. This was done by an alright original animation studio, and Kazuki Takahashi himself, who had some involvement. But hey, I really don't care about Yu-Gi-Oh! Continuity as much as I let on these videos, or as much as you guys sure do. As long as the movie is good, unlike the Pyramid of Light, then whatever, sure. Sequel it up, baby. Unfortunately, the movie is not that good. I'd say it's the second best behind Bonds Beyond Time. I still think that's the best one, mainly because it's shorter and had better fan service. This movie, unfortunately, has a lot of issues. And yeah, one of the problems with the movie is that it is a sequel, cause I said it's a sequel to the original. And I meant the manga, not the original anime series. Because remember, unlike Bonds Beyond Time, which was made to celebrate just the anime, this is meant to celebrate the whole shebang, so we're starting from the manga. And if you don't know, I've made references to it here or there every so often. The manga and the anime for every Yu-Gi-Oh! Series are completely different beasts. The manga, when compared to the anime, have completely original characters, arcs, story beats. Besides sharing the name, they're completely different things. If you thought Arc 5 was weird, in the manga, it gets downright incestuous, and that's all I'll say about that. Now, the original Duel Monsters is the closest when comparing the anime and manga, since at the time it was mostly an adaptation of the manga, like most Shonen Jump properties. However, eventually the anime did do things its own way, ending with a different continuity. And because of that, if you're going off the anime, which most people when watching this did, because of course they would, this makes some major plot holes and kind of spits in the face of the ending of the anime, and also certain characters get done dirty here. So grab some popcorn for the last Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie we'll be looking at, and let's see if this is a good sequel to one of the most iconic manga and anime of all time. I guess it's going to be kind of hard to live up to it when I say it like that. So confusingly, the movie opens 6 months later with a teaser, because it shows Kaiba on a satellite using science bullshit to reconstruct the Millennium Puzzle. And yeah, it's like an opening stinger to get you to keep watching, which makes no sense because I assume most people watched this in the theater when it was released. Because this is the scene that happens kinda in the middle of the whole thing. Yeah, they added a cold open stinger to keep the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans watching the movie. The real thing begins with good old Yu. He's back, heading to school, and we see all the other cheerleaders, Joey and Bakura, the ones that matter. Okay, there are a few things I think we can all praise this movie for. One is the voice acting. Both dub and OG Japanese have the original voice actors returning, and they still sound great, like they never stop playing these characters.
That study abroad program's lucky to have you.
Well, to be a professional dancer, I can't be afraid to bite off more than I can chew.
If you're as graceful as you are with those chopsticks, you'll make it for sure.
Also, finally, praise be to Exodia, we got a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime property with amazing animation all the way through. Gallop fucking cooked. I have never seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters with so many frames. I actually watched and paid attention to the animation because it looked good. What a concept. Good animation will keep you looking at the animation. Okay, one thing that always kind of jars me with movies like this is because they went so hard with the animation, they do that thing other anime movies do, where they really try to match up the lip movements with what the characters are saying in Japanese, having more than just your standard lip flaps. So when it's in English, and it's a close-up, it looks kinda off.
And you, Joey? You still plan to become a pro duelist after school is over?
Now, other anime movies do this too. It's not a criticism of this one specifically. Every anime dub of a movie has this problem. It's just always kind of distracting to me. And yeah, I could have watched the original instead of the dub, and if you're still saying that at this point, then you're clearly not paying attention to the things I'm saying. So what kind of adventures have the cheerleaders been getting up to since they saved ancient Egypt? Not much. They've just been going to school. I mean, they are high schoolers, that's about it. But not much longer, because they're going to graduate soon. Finally, all the Yugi Gooners have been looking at their Teiya hentai with shame and possible jail time, and now they just have to worry about the shame. All the cheerleaders got plans after graduating. Well, the more important ones do. Because Teiya still wants to be a dancer and is planning on studying abroad. Joey's the only one still in the game as he wants to be a pro duelist. Yugi's a bit unsure, but he wants to be some kind of game maker. I mean, hey, Duke Devlin did it. And of course these guys are still friendship weenies. And since they know they'll be going their separate ways, they say when Yugi makes his game, they'll gather again and play it. I miss these dorks. They return to class to take notice of a new transfer student who's been going to their school, I guess, but they don't remember his name. Until they do, it's Aigami. Then after school, Yugi, Joey, and Teiya see Aigami getting bullied by a guy ripped straight out of a hentai doujin, you know what I mean. Joey comes in to save him, but the bullies tell him they're not done with him, and they get him to come to some abandoned parking garage where they have chains and a camera? You know, I was kidding when I said he's a hentai guy, but it's no longer for kids, I guess, so it's gonna get a bit kinky. But shock of all shocks, I bet you never guessed with this guy's design, Aigami is actually a Nintendo fan, and conjures him a GameCube. Which of course summons the souls of all the kids bullied for not having a PlayStation 2, and he kills the bullies, erases them from existence. It's some ancient Egyptian magic bullshit, whatever. And it's been like 15 or 20 minutes. Time for a duel. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! We gotta have some duels, man. Although this one shouldn't exist, cause it's Kaiba versus a Tem somehow.
I see you're just as cocky as ever, Kaiba, but so be it. It's time to duel!
Oh my god, he said the thing. More importantly, break out those tissues, boys, because we've got raw, uncensored Dark Magician Girl live in person in a dub, like the Lord Exodia intended. Man, that's like the 5th Gooner joke I've made so far in this video. I must have been really corny when I wrote this script. We do see some things that are different than your usual Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel. For one, like the last film, the cards actually look like the real-life counterparts with text and everything. Oh boy, can't wait to read. Also, for just this movie and no other Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing in media, they all use 8,000 life points instead of the usual 4,000, which is weird considering this is a movie and they have less time. You'd think they'd want to end the duels fast, like this one does. It's only a few minutes. And of course, it's not the real attempt, it's a simulation made by Kaiba Boy. We've already been shown that Yugi does miss a Tem, but he's moving on with his life. Kaiba not so much. He's upset his boyfriend left him without one final goodbye kiss. I mean duel.
I went to a great deal of trouble recreating the Pharaoh's deck, strategies, even his perfectly coiffed hair. In fact, that part is what took the longest. But still, it wasn't the real Pharaoh, so I didn't really beat him.
And if you're solely going off the anime, this might be the first part where you're like, wait a minute, something feels off here. And it might be the same thing I thought when watching this, that back when Yugi beat the 3 Egyptian god cards and a Tem, it was supposed to show Kaiba that he was the true duelist. It wasn't just him using a Tem's powers. He's actually a skilled card gamer. He actually reads his cards. However, in the manga, Kaiba was not there for the final duel. So one of the many things, if you're going off the anime, continuity-wise, makes little sense. Also, one of my problems with this movie, this Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, is Yugi's barely in it and barely involved. This is mainly a Kaiba movie with him trying to revive a Tem. Yugi's just kind of there, and you'll see he gets involved later simply because he's the protagonist. For a majority of it, he's barely an active participant in the plot until the script says so. Case in point, we cut to the cheerleaders in the mall eating some snacks while Teiya's looking like a snack, and we see the return of Duke Devlin. Yeah, he's back too and working at a food cart in the mall? What happened with Dungeon Dice Monsters? Pegasus contract screw you over that much? Anyway, the scene is just here so they can be like, whoa, the bullies disappeared, and they're like, man, maybe some weird shenanigans are happening again, and that's it. Our protagonists, everybody. Then back to the real plot, Aigami is watching the cheerleaders from a distance, and then he holds the A button to go in the console system settings, where we see the Nintendo kids are here, and he exposits to them, I guess, even though they already know this information, that when the Pharaoh disappeared, he was granted the power of the Plana. I'm going to keep calling it the GameCube because that's funnier. And if the Pharaoh were to return, that power gets taken away. You might be wondering what the GameCube does exactly. It's nothing much. It just has the ability to reshape reality itself and erase things from existence. So not that big a deal. And he says he's going to use this power to get revenge for his master, Shin. Some lolly appears and she says, "Don't do revenge, it's bad, play Mario Sunshine instead," and also refers to Aigami as Diva. But he's feeling rage and says he will get his revenge. Back in the mall, some nigga shows up. Well, I say that, but I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be Egyptian. Named Manny. Tells Aigami, again, don't do revenge, it's some bad news, but tells him he will eradicate this evil. That guy is evil. That guy right there. As he looks at Yugi. And Bakura is off to the side. But he says that one specifically is a bad dude. You can probably already guess the twist. That's when Manny says they gotta go because there's a disturbance in the children's card game force. A new ban list must be on the way. No, actually it's Kaiba, who we cut back to at the site where Yugi dueled Tem, where Mokuba is waiting. Don't worry, after the plot devices, I already handed my written apology to Mokuba. And you can guess why they're all here. Yeah, Kaiba had his people dig up the Millennium Puzzle after it fell into that pit at the end of the show, or manga. And he's gonna take it back with him to revive Tem. And if you remember, the GameCube powers leave when Pharaoh returns, so Aigami shows up to make sure that doesn't happen. And Kaiba knows about Aigami already and that his real name is Diva, not just because he read the script, but he's Kaiba. And Aigami is about to Thanos snap Kaiba away, but he's such a genius, he somehow manages to have a technological device already strapped to him that somehow repels ancient Egyptian magic. Lex Luthor is calling bullshit at Kaiba with how much pre-planning he did for every situation in the universe. Aigami's not leaving without the puzzle though, so of course they duel. But this isn't like any other duel we've had. Oh no, this isn't no normal children's card game. This is a dimension duel. This one's special because it gets rid of rules established in the card game since the beginning, where you can summon any monster without tributing or paying costs. Well, you summon them by channeling your fighting spirit or whatever. It's basically all free. Any card game player in the world will tell you that's broken as fuck, and probably was only invented because they were like, oh shit, we got a 2-hour movie and we have multiple duels and can't have them last forever, so we'll have them cheat. Easy. Why think of a clever way for the duelist to play? Make up shit to make the writing easier. One thing I also noticed during this duel is all the technobabble shit on Kaiba's new duel disc looks awful. Fire your UI designer, bro. I can't tell what the fuck I'm looking at. Also, yes, these new duel discs are basically just nothing, things they wear on their arms and the cards just like appear in front of them. I'll talk about that more when we get to Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. To no one's surprise, Aigami uses GameCube monsters, but Kaiba is the most stubborn asshole on the planet and has more fighting spirit, so he gives Aigami a run for his money, even drawing Obelisk the Tormentor from the ground? I mean, I guess all the Millennium items are buried here. I guess the COD cards went too, and he drew it from the ground. Why am I thinking about this? Before the duel can end, the devices finish scanning the Millennium Puzzle, and Mokuba takes it away, but Aigami gets on the chopper and manages to grab some pieces without them knowing, as Kaiba heads back to Domino. It's so weird not saying New Domino. I feel like I've said that like the past several years. But remember, it wasn't just the Millennium Puzzle that was in that pit, because staying behind was Manny, and he sees in that pit, sigh, the Millennium Ring. Yep. It's gonna be that stupid. After all that, Aigami begins to enact his revenge plan by infiltrating the ranks of the cheerleaders. And Kaiba heads up on his space elevator to his satellite station. I forgot how extra this guy was. Where we see that scene from the beginning of him reconstructing the Millennium Puzzle. Meanwhile, Yugi's at the card shop alone like a usual card gamer, when that lolly appears, who is named Sarah, and she's Aigami's sister. And comes to warn him of Aigami's plans, sort of. She doesn't give that much detail, but she does reveal her master Shin. Well, it's someone you know.
I know of the Pharaoh because of my master, Master Shin. Shoddy Shin.
So my slim shoddy jokes were not that far off. And she leaves, giving Yugi one of the pieces to the puzzle Aigami took. Speaking of, he's with Joey and Bakura right now, and when he shows them his GameCube, Bakura starts remembering something. That he was a Dreamcast fan and all he had was Shenmue. Also, something else about his dad or whatever, but can't quite make it out. Then Aigami decides to send Bakura to some weird other dimension, and I don't know why, but he also decides to erase Joey from existence. I guess because he feels like it. And then Aigami enlightens Bakura on what he forgot. That many years ago, Bakura snuck aboard a ship on one of his father's expeditions, and Dad found the Millennium items, along with the real Slim Shady and a bunch of kids, including a younger Diva, Sarah, and the other one. Bakura's dad specifically wants that Millennium Ring, and Shady says if you can handle it, take it. He could in fact not handle it. So Bakura picks up the ring, and thus begins his whole spiral to depression. And the spirit of the ring killed Shady there. Yes, before passing he gives his GameCube to Aigami, saying he needs to use it when the time comes. I mean, I guess by this point in the timeline, the N64's been out in a while, so it'll probably be soon. Yep, that's the story. So first off, remember, it is based on the manga, so before you start getting all upsetty spaghetti over continuity, remember, we're working with a different one than the one from the anime. So my problem isn't with that. My problem is, who fucking reads? Yes, I know many of you watching these have probably read the manga versions of the Yu-Gi-Ohs, as you like to constantly remind me in the comments. But newsflash, 99% of people who watch anime don't read manga. Most of them just watch the anime, and yeah, going off of that, this makes no fucking sense. I'm not going to explain why it doesn't. I have a whole series of videos to tell you why. But yeah, if you're like most people, you were probably confused when watching this. But just read the manga, that's not the point. The point is, this is meant to be a movie that's a sequel to the Yu-Gi-Oh series. And most people see the Yu-Gi-Oh series as the anime. So depending on how accurate this is to the manga ending, the hardcore fans are fine with it, I guess. But believe it or not, hardcore fans make up very little of any fan base. Thus, this led to many people assuming that it's based on the anime, and they called bullshit on this whole backstory because of the anime. Like, Shadi should not be alive here. If he had this super powerful prana the whole time, why didn't he fucking use it? Bakura's backstory with the ring, and that the spirit of the ring is still alive. Yeah, because despite Bakura telling Agami, dude, that was obviously not me, that was my Mr. Hyde to my Dr. Jekyll, he's like, shut up, you're trying to save yourself, until Handy Manny arrives, showing he's been possessed by the spirit of the ring, and he can't control it, and magic happens or whatever, and Bakura gets shadow realmed, and Manny vanishes, leaving Agami with the ring, who hears Yugi calling for Joey, as the other cheerleaders have been out looking for their friends. Agami reveals himself with the Nintendo kids, saying, yeah, sorry, I put your friends in the recycle bin, which means they can't be restored. Too bad for him, we backed that shit up, cause Joey comes back, shocking Agami. I'm not exactly sure how he came back. I mean, he sees a vision of a Tem, so maybe he did something, but then they say it's because of friendship, and I can't really argue with that logic in this universe, so. Defeated once again by friendship, Agami vanishes, and the cheerleaders split up to look for him to get Bakura back. But Kaiba gets to him first, performing a citizen's arrest on him. Or it might be a regular arrest, I wouldn't be surprised if Kaiba owned the police too. Then confronts Yugi, telling him, well, what else does Kaiba ever talk to Yugi about? He's holding a tournament to promote his new duel disc. Yugi of course is like, I don't care, I'm busy, but then Kaiba whips out the puzzle, saying he knows he has a piece of it, and reveals his grand plan even though everyone on the planet knows what he wants. For Yugi to show up, wear the puzzle, and summon a Tem, so Kaiba can duel him and prove once and for all he's the real king of games. If you're wondering, no, this is not the most toxic yaoi relationship in anime. There's far worse. He also mentions Agami will be there dueling for the puzzle as well, since he doesn't want that pharaoh coming back, so Yugi has plenty of reasons to show up. Kaiba leaves, and then Sarah shows up, asking Yugi to save her brother, cause he's losing his way. Don't worry, Sarah, he's the most protagonist motherfucker ever. This is just another Tuesday for him. But then it's Wednesday, my dudes, the day of the tournament, as it begins with Kaiba showing off his new dual disc technology. Yeah, but is it real solid vision, Kaiba? Bet not. And while he calls it a tournament, it's really an exhibition with Kaiba planning to duel Agami, then Yugi to get the puzzle pieces, and then finally a Tem. But then Yugi shows some balls here, telling Kaiba he's going to duel Agami first, cause he needs to save Bakura, and don't even try to get in his way. Damn, little Yugi's all grown up, and even Kaiba has to respect it, so Yugi duels Agami first. So this is the last 45-ish minutes of the movie. Obviously it's going to be all dueling because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! So a lot of summary here because I'm not explaining these duels, they're really not that interesting. So I'll just sell these new movie exclusive cards, who gives a shit. I guess one thing I did forget to mention, Shadi basically made a cult, as Agami isn't just erasing people for no reason. Shadi told them, the world kinda sucks right now, guys. Yeah, you're telling me. And Agami experienced this after Shadi died, being taken care of by an abusive asshole until he got the GameCube powers. So he wants to literally remake the world, free of hate and all that junk. This is just so Yugi can go, no, I believe in us and humanity and stuff, in the future I won't give up like you quitter, and he wins. Then it's Yugi versus Kaiba, the rematch of the... I mean, we've seen this shit so many times. Eventually Kaiba presents Yugi with the puzzle, and with his piece and the one he got from beating Agami, he completes it. But Kaiba is stunned to see nothing happens, with Yugi telling Kaiba he also wanted to see a Tem again. But after their duel, he was put to rest, his spirit no longer resides in the puzzle, he's gone for good. And Yugi knew this, which is why he never really wanted to go back and face it. But Kaiba, if you can't tell, has problems letting go, and thinks if he just duels hard enough, he'll come back, he'll see his boyfriend again. But the duel is interrupted by Agami, who's back, with a power boost. The Millennium Ring. As the spirit of the Millennium Ring, Bandit Bakura is back. Yes, he's still in the ring, despite them definitively erasing him from it in the finale.
Diva is no longer in control. I am. His fear invited me into his soul.
Which, before y'all start, yes, this is a dub fuck up for some reason. Only in the English dub are they implying that it's the spirit of the ring, when the original Japanese, Agami and Manny went crazy from the ring's raw evil energy. But even then, wasn't the thing supposed to be purged? Like, Makura was fine at the finale. Was that not a thing? Did that not happen in the manga either? Seemed fine in the movie. But hey, in a way, this is the most Yu-Gi-Oh thing to call back to. The dub changing plot points for no reason, making everything worse. Man, it's like we're back in 2002 with 4Kids, baby. So yeah, the last duel is Yugi and Kaiba versus Maja and Aigami. And despite magician waifus and new Blue Eyes support, they start losing. And so to save them from Aigami's pandemic dragon, a literal deus ex machina happens. Because despite Yugi saying Atem is gone for good, he's never coming back, he's gone bro. Guess who shows up to save the day? Worst of all, they don't even explain how he wins. He just silently summons Mahad, and he wins. The day's saved, everything's fine. Go home. Why are you asking questions? The one time you wanted them to explain card effects, they stay silent. Thanks, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yugi and Atem silently acknowledge each other as he leaves, restoring all the people Agami's Shadow Realm or Erase from Resistance or whatever, including Bakura. And the GameCube kids are sad when they realize they lost their powers, but it's for the best, cause the Wii's coming out soon. Then in a moment I don't like, Kaiba comes up to the cheerleaders, smiling and being nice, saying he knew Atem would come back, because like Yugi, he also has a bond with him. And he's talking about friendship in a positive way. This part of the movie freaked me out the most, not this continuity stuff or what happens with the anime and manga, who cares about that? Kaiba is supposed to be the most unapologetic asshole on the planet, that's why we love him. Why do we keep ruining asshole characters? Let them be assholes. This is another example of woke garbage ruining my yaoi children's card game anime. Finally, the movie ends with a montage of epilogue, I guess is what you call it, where Agami and his friends are alive now, or spirits, I'm still unsure, but they're living their best lives. Yugi and his friends graduate high school and see Tei off, who goes to study dance in America. Crazy how there's a bunch of 30-year-old men who just creamed their pants hearing the words Tei graduated from high school. Whether or not I'm one of them, that's not important. What is that the film ends with the final scene of Kaiba using, I assume, the GameCube powers because it's there, and creating a dual dimension system that he uses to time travel to face Atem in the past. And that's how the Yu-Gi-Oh story, the original one as we know it, ends. Yeah, Kaiba made a dual dimension system, which when hearing that made me wonder again why they didn't tie the OG Yu-Gi-Oh into Arc 5. But then I realized I think it was supposed to be tying into the about to be released Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links app, but more on that in the next show. And yeah, that was Dark Side of Dimensions. It was fine, made at best. Look man, I'm sorry, I just don't think Yu-Gi-Oh! Works in a movie format because of the duels. It's not like an action scene, because the majority of it has to be people standing around talking before an actual attack happens. And as we saw with Arc 5, you kind of have to establish a bunch of bullshit and exposition before you get to the duels so we can just get pure dueling so that the pacing is alright. Which is what they did here, and that's fine, but personally, I just don't want to sit there for 45 minutes watching people just spout a bunch of card effects. Yes, I know that's technically what I did binge watching all these shows shut up and talking about in a movie format, which for fans of this stuff is fine, right? They're used to it. But for most other audiences who were confused by the plot, because most of them are going off the anime knowledge from 15 years ago, yeah, it was kind of a mess. I'd say the whole thing is style over substance, because the movie looks amazing. Again, best looking Yu-Gi-Oh! Anything I've ever seen and probably will ever get, till the 30th anniversary probably. But the actual content is so tuned to a specific part of the fan base that if you're not aware of what they're talking about, you're going to get lost pretty easily. I'm just not a fan of continuing shows where the stories and plots of the characters are already done, like it's over, we don't need to have a Netflix revival, just let stuff end, it's okay. I don't want to revisit old stuff in new media where they can possibly fuck it up like here. I want brand new things to get upset about. And if that's not a great segue to the next Yu-Gi-Oh series, hope you remembered your password and deleted all that Teiya hentai from your hard drive, cause we gotta download the next expansion, cause it's time to link into the brains. For some reason that felt more embarrassing for me to say than swing into action. As we take a look at the show with several milestones attached. It's the last traditional Yu-Gi-Oh anime, the last one animated by Studio Gallop, and the last one to introduce a new summoning mechanic. And The last one, the physical card game, would take inspiration from to make cards. Hope you're ready to farm all these raid bosses, baby, because we're going to take a look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Frains. See you then.
You dare to attack the Knights of Hanoi? You've made a fatal mistake. Once you cross us, you're marked for life.
Good. Then you'll be seeing a lot more of me, so you ought to remember this face. Or better yet, my name.